go ahead and get started.
What in your professional experience has prepared you to manage the city?
What qualifies me, I just graduated college, applied science real estate degree from North Seattle College. I got a property management certificate. I know conditional zone permits. I know FAR's fair housing law. I know tenant laws. I know gentrification.
I started as a community organizer in Chicago with the Industrial Areas Foundation. I brought 10,000 people together to create a community organization that pressed the city of Chicago on issues of homelessness and immigrant rights and immigrant health care. I then spent 30 years as a corporate leader.
And I've tried to prepare for this job my entire life. If you look at my legislative record on the city council, I sponsored over 800 bills. I was elected twice to the city council as president. When I was on the city council, I realized dealing with people is one of the biggest challenges of a mayor. So I went back and took a 4-hour class to get certified as a senior certified human resource professional. I know how to lead, I know how to serve, and anyone that works with me know that you gotta.
I am not weary of my years inside of public office. And there is a front that many of my colleagues here, Joe and Bruce both, they have been in these systems for decades. They have seen how they work, and they have decided that there is an operational boundary that they have to be within. I don't believe that. I sit here as both a federal worker and as a young person seeing everything that is going on within our country, and I want to be able to believe that there can be more. And I think Seattle believes that there can be more. Everything that happens in the city is because of people that, like I work with, who have collectively millennia of knowledge and want to make the city better.
Use a little bit of example from my direct experience inside of the homeless services industry. I was a mutual aid worker on the ground for years before losing my housing to disability. There aren't services available to folks like myself. What we have is essentially a piecemeal operation system. So we're missing clear goals and clear lines of communication. And that's why we're operating in a way that it feels piecewise and it feels broken. It feels like it takes a long time for things to go through a full circuit because that circuit is not properly connected. And to understand where those connections are broken, we need to talk to the people who are working with them on the daily. So
we have a lot of departments that don't talk to each other, but we need someone in the government that's looking at those efficiencies to make sure those silos can be broken down. I also have a master's in sustainable development, and I think that those systems have to be mapped out and embrace new technology of today. And then finally, in terms of experience, I'm elected to my union's national council. So I oversee 50,000 creative economy workers on a $75 million budget for our entire union. Seattle has an analysis paralysis problem where we hire a committee to make a task force, to make a consultant, look at a survey, and we don't actually get things done.
I want to hear from you. What is your plan to address the issues? So starting out, and I've heard a lot of conversation on housing and homelessness. What is your plan to address the issue?
I have talked in every one of these about tiny home villages. And when I talked to the mayor about it, his response, and hey, 85% of the tiny homes in King County are in Seattle, and the county should be doing more. We have the homeless here in Seattle. We need to address it. The other thing is I think we need to modify our harm reduction approach. We spend tens of millions of dollars caring for those suffering addiction, but we're not coaxing them into treatment. The vast majority of the homeless are individuals. They have no social structure. And the way to overcome that is to put wraparound services in a tiny home village or in other emergency housing.
That my administration's done, which is a blueprint for the next 20 years on where we should build. And in that particular plan, you'll see that we have close to 37,000 homes in that plan embedded in where we build, I should say. We have to figure out where we can build to accommodate this growth. And that's what we've done in our comp plan, number one. Number two, if you look at the levy that we passed, it was very aggressive in terms of what we're trying to build. I would also suggest that I've said repeatedly that these large corporations that are extracting money out of these cities, they have a moral obligation, and I would suggest even a legal obligation to help us along these causes. So we have decided as a city on homelessness to invest in a regional approach. the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. And you are right, 85% of the tiny homes are in Seattle. It's a recommended policy for us for transition housing to get someone off the streets. And I am very vocal, and you'll see motions made trying to make sure that our neighboring cities will do more.
A lot of this has come down to two major factors when it comes to homelessness. And all of this comes down to creating a system and lowering to that lowers rent so that people don't fall into that in the first place. This is why I was the first candidate to actually introduce the idea of a vacancy tax here, to make certain that the systems internal to our city are actually pushing these corporations to make a quote unquote market rate rather than entirely raising those rents, to make certain that someone doesn't fall out of those systems entirely. And
We need to address homelessness honestly. First and foremost, this is an emergency. We don't treat it like one. Homelessness is not a drug problem. It's a housing and systemic problem, right? Most people that I know that are experiencing homelessness have robust social circles. The social circle is not responsible for housing. Our campaign, if empowered to address homelessness, would first and foremost treat it like an emergency with a triage network of caseworkers. Our current homelessness system is built to perpetuate homelessness. It's not built to end it. We need the real goal of getting people off the street and inside. We need to treat housing like a human right.
We could establish a vacancy tax and change our behavior downtown from a third vacancy to actually a vitalized city, which could include more sales tax revenue, which could then generate more funds for the city. I also would love to see a tax on corporate ownership of homes in this city. We have so many city, county, or state land that we can zone with tiny homes. I think we have 150 to 200 sitting in SODA that have been manufactured that just need to be put somewhere. So we need to demand the political will to actually start having more movement on shelter housing and then creating that pipeline for more standardizations of getting people a roof over their heads.
That means making sure that our land use and zoning laws are encouraging the private market to build more housing, and especially family-sized housing, in the city being an active partner with Seattle's new social housing developer, which voters have twice told us overwhelmingly they want to see succeed, and which our current mayor opposed. That means strengthening renter protections for renters who are struggling with rising rents. And that means investing in affordable homeownership programs so that let's talk about homelessness. We need to rapidly expand shelter. That means tiny homes. That could mean municipal rent vouchers to get people inside, integrated with the treatment and the support that they need to be successful there.
The mayor twice today has answered the question about how he's addressing homelessness by going to the binder, and he has no vision and no plan to deal with the public safety implications of addicts on the street.
Joe, I really do enjoy you. You have some fantastic energy, but I do just need to correct this record for the homeless of this city entirely. There is no statistical correlation between drug use leading to homelessness. Being homeless leads you to drug addiction.
This is my plan. I will implement a housing first strategy that removes barriers to entry, just like in Houston and Milwaukee, and ensure supportive services follow stable housing. I'll support rent stabilization, community land trusts, tax relief for low-income homeowners, and upzone areas equitably. I will use Governor Inslee's anti-displacement mandate will be our foundation.
What are your plans for supporting historically Black institutions and programs or creating new ones? And you have 1 minute.
I issued an executive order, $200 million that we spend as procurements for the city. And I looked at Black-owned businesses to make sure that through the Liberty Project that we invest in these communities. I was the one that banned the box because our community had a disproportionate amount of convictions and arrests in our community, and that's why I wanted to get them jobs. I'm sorry.
Actually attack this from two different angles. First of all, this does go back to the affordability crisis. Across the nation, not just in Seattle, Black communities have a negative wealth value as compared to any other community, which has caused any business, any Black-owned business, any Black-owned business owner, any Black-owned worker to not have the capability to rise up in this system that we currently have. We need to actually deal with the actual systemic issues inside of our government. So one of which being the over-policing and structural disparagement of Black and Latino individuals across our city.
We've seen organizations on the south side of the Seattle take take the lead on this. The examples of what we need to do have been put out there by the organizations, by the people.
I feel like we as Seattle have to push Olympia to truly fund the reparations study that's coming out, making sure that we can get young people into the Philip Randolph Institute and making sure that there are programs for people to actually step up and create leadership opportunities. And then finally, I think the arts are a bridge for common humanity. And if we can have artists actually live in the city, then we can actually have real change in the city.
I will work hand in hand with organizations, Black-led organizations rooted in Black communities on policies and programs to prevent displacement and to build community wealth.
So I will create a Seattle Worker Transition Fund for workers at risk of displacement. I would expand apprenticeship access via Office of Economic Development in partnership with unions and South Seattle College. I would push to fund a public bank feasible study for long-term city control over lending, housing, and investments. All right, so my plan would be to scale the BCO fund for my pilot to a citywide targeting 5 neighborhoods per year: CD, Rainier Valley, Beacon Hill, South Park, White Center. I would prevent displacement, stabilize rent for 100 mom and pop shops in 5 years.
The other thing I would do is invest in Black artistic institutions.
So what became painfully obvious is no one really has a plan. I talked specifically about the Liberty Project. I talked specifically about the equitable development improvement.
How will you work with the City Council to ensure that development preserves essential creative third spaces that are the cultural heritage of Seattle?
Our local arts community is not what it once was because people can't afford to live here anymore. So I think we have to create density so that we can have housing for people, but also be focused on protecting the spaces that matter to our communities.
I think the city should explore in some dense commercial areas doing a master lease where the city actually takes control of a whole bunch of kind of ground floor retail and can have a lot more control over leasing that out to small businesses, cultural institutions.
For you that don't know, the Little Red Hen is basically the Royal Esquire Club for the white folks on the north side. To tell you the truth, Miss, I'm not an expert on historical preservation laws.
Two things. Number one is one reason why up to B&O tax and exempted 90% of small businesses, because it's those kind of businesses like the Little Red Hen that we need to keep in the city. Number two, if you look at our capital access program where you could actually buy the place.
I do want to keep focus on the portion that you actually brought up. And that was the fact that you are dealing with a lease problem. This is entirely an affordability problem.
One of the things that we wanted to look at, exactly, it's not an option, was a cultural and artistic preservation point. Can we preserve institutions like this based on what the community in that neighborhood wants?
The Royal Esquire Club was started in 1948 because 5 Black men were not allowed to patronize other clubs in the city. Let's make that clear. And I'm not sure why you say it's like the Little Red Hen. I don't know their history in that regard, but a totally different setup. So I think it's important to know the history before you start saying one club is like the other.
I love you all. I know you're stacked against me, and that's okay. I was just making a joke. Maybe you prefer I make a joke about the Seattle Supersonics going back, Mayor.
Joe, you remind me of 2 people, Jenny Durkins and Donald Trump. Your substance is garbage. Your attitude is horrible, and your tactics are unacceptable. As you go on your negative attacks against the mayor, we won't tolerate it. We would prefer, and we will listen to your points, but you veer off with no substance, and we won't deal with it. That, I mean the Black community. The rest of you, there seems to be a calculated attack to try to conspiracize against the mayor and use Garbage Joe as the spokesperson.
Sir, I love you.
You don't have to love me.
I do love you.
You know what I mean?
You know what?
Just respect me. You don't have to love me.
The mayor's African American. He's a Black man. I understand that. But you have to speak truth to power, regardless of whether that power is Black or white. I believe the mayor is a misogynist, and I believe he disrespects women leaders.
So we're not against nobody. To conspire to say we're all against Bruce Harrell, we're not.
Adam Smith, in his run for Congress, asked you to endorse him. Would you?
I would not.
I would.
I already have, so yes.
I would not. Free Palestine.
I would not.
I'd be open to a conversation, but right now I would not.
I would not.
If Shama Sawant run for Congress and asked you to endorse her, would you?
And I would absolutely not endorse her.
No.
Conversation, but currently leaning no.
I would not.
I would also not.
I would not.
I would support her.
Do you believe climate justice must include racial equity?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Is there, from your perspective, a Black community in Seattle? And if the answer is yes, where is it? Is there a
The
black-
neighborhood, it's supposed to be everywhere. I know why it's
Okay.
concentrated in South Seattle.
I'd say in the South End, there's a diaspora of individuals, but
There is. It's not just in one place.
Oh, there's South End, Seattle, Rainier.
Yeah, there's absolutely a black community in Seattle, and it's everywhere that black folks have the opportunity to congregate.
98122, 98144, 98118, 98178.
There is a strong a black community in the south end of Seattle.
And I'm going to ask everyone here to please give a round of applause for all of our candidates who are running for mayor of the city of Seattle.